Wonderful. So I'm so happy to have you here together today. It's so beautiful, your dedication to come out on a Saturday and meditate and study the Dharma. Very beautiful. When I train seriously with my guru, this is what it's like. This kind of amount of people. You have public talks, it's fun, and we bring great lamas to the center in Maitripa in Portland. 100 people come to see Lama Zopa, 250 people come. But Yangtze Rinpoche trains his disciples like systematic like this, year by year by year, in classes that build. And then when it's time for meditation retreat, it's, small amount of students who he feels are ready anyway. So it's kind of interesting it worked out this way here, because we can work together more precisely on your practice and things of that nature too. So there's two things. We need a core group in Miami of strong people who are meditating and dedicated, and then we also need to be able to have those people open the doors and expand outward so that the Sangha in Miami builds, So this is like recharging the faculty and staff here today, giving you energy to keep doing the good work you're doing here in Florida, Miami. I'm very happy. So I thought we would do a lot of practice. So starting with meditation today, I thought we would sit for a half an hour just to see how we can do with this. Some of us will be fine, some of us will be freaking out, and that's okay. But it's so rare that we have time in our busy schedules to just dedicate to practice. So that's what today is. So we'll do practice, I'll give some teachings, and then we'll have an exam at the end of the class.
Wow!
Which is very fun. I learned in Europa where you sit and face each other, you pull a question out of a bowl. I have all the questions with me, and then you work with your partner. And you didn't have any preparation, so don't worry, it won't determine anything for your future about getting into college or getting a job. But it makes people nervous when I do this kind of thing. So it's nice to just spring it on them at the last minute so they didn't worry about it all day or weeks before. It's just a way to get some kind of knowledge about the subject matter in your heart. And so we'll work together to answer the questions that are kind of like a summary of what this course I've been teaching you is all about, which is the stages of the path or presenting the path. So it's just another tool. Please don't be threatened by it. So let us begin. First we'll raise our motivation and then we'll meditate. So raising our motivation means that we're taking this time out of our busy lives to come here today for the sake of all suffering beings, to have compassion, to have the intention to wake up strongly. Any meditation you do, any study you do is for others, is to become a Buddha in this life. So I'm here today for that purpose. Why not this meditation session you become a Buddha? Why not this meditation session you wake up completely? My teachers try to tell me that, it's good to have gradual path, but at the same time not so gradual, like, well, this doesn't really matter, today's meditation is not that big a deal, or, There was a day that the Buddha went and sat down to meditate and then became the Buddha. That happened on a day, so why not today? So I hope that happens. But it's kind of the intention of taking it serious and trying to enjoy it at the same time. And think that the practices and meditations that we're going to do here together today are what have been done for 2,600 years, that have produced the Dalai Lamas, the Lama Zopa Rinpoches, the Geshe-las, the Khandro-las, the Venerable Rabinas, and on and on and on. So we're going to sit for a half an hour, and I would suggest that you choose an object that you feel comfortable with. The breath, if that's your object, is excellent. If you'd like to meditate on a deity, that's excellent also. If you'd like to meditate on the nature of mind, Mahamudra, fantastic. There's also the practice of looking at something. This is something that I find quite helpful, which is, so take this flower for example. I'll pick just one part on this flower, like just this part. And I'll say, that's going to be my object of meditation. And I would place it in front of me like this, and just look at that. And so now when my eyes look away, or when my mind is thinking, both of them have to come back to this, my mind and my eyes. So it brings you a lot of strength quickly if you can do this type of meditation, because you can remember, am I paying attention or not, you know? If you're looking somewhere else, you're not doing the meditation. And our eye consciousness is very connected to our mind. So if you're going like this, you know, all the time in meditation, then your mind is going to be all like that as well. So that's another thing you can choose to work with. If you want to put something in front of you, you're most welcome. It's a quick way to gain advancement in meditation practice, actually, because at work, in life, wherever you are, you can just look at something, and you've trained your awareness to come to itself, to settle itself by visual consciousness. So it's a tool for you. So I do that sometimes when I'm getting stressed out and things. I'll just pick something and just look at it until the calm comes, and then I'll go back to whatever I'm doing. So it's a neutralizing the emotion and the anxiety quickly by coming back to the present moment, which is where the body and mind always are. The senses, at least, always are. So the same works for the breath or for anything, but it's just another tool you can try. So if anybody wants to do that throughout this meditation, feel free. You can take these flowers or anything else to put in front of yourself. Okay. We did it. That's wonderful. I'd like to move on to the two main meditations of how Buddhists develop compassion in our lineage. So there's two main practices. We can do one now, and then we can have our break. We can come back and we can do the second one. I can have some teachings, and then we'll have your exam.
Okay. So exam.
So yeah, that's how we'll do. So now we'll do a meditation on compassion that is about Asanga's teachings. Asanga taught this method for developing compassion that has been applied really universally since his time, long time ago. So there's these two things. There's developing compassion through Asanga's technique, and then over here is exchange of self and others. This is how the Lam Rim is presented. These are the two most popular ways Buddhists develop compassion throughout history. So our beautiful founder, Lama Tsongkhapa, 15th century, what he did is he scoped through all the teachings with a fine-tooth comb. You know, like this, like looking what's the most powerful, what's the best, from sutra to tantra, everything. And then he put them in a systematic format. So among all the meditations in the last, the 1,000 years before him in Buddhism, he found these two are the most effective for developing compassion, and then he put them in the Lam Rim. So that's what we study when we're talking about generating bodhicitta. What our last class was about was we need to wake up this mind and generate bodhicitta, compassionate mind. And so how do we do that? Two main techniques. One is exchange, the 7 causes and effect from Asanga, and the other is Tonglen and exchanging self and others. These kind of practices that are about putting yourself in other shoes, taking the suffering of others upon yourself. It's good theory, but the better is a meditation when we experience it. So Lam Rim has small scope, medium scope, great scope. Great scope starts with bodhicitta. Bodhicitta meditation starts with these two things. So these become part of one's daily routine as you practice your notes on the guitar or on the piano. The small scope, medium scope, great scope. Like every day you're doing your lines. So these become part of your daily Lam Rim, what we'll say Lam Rim meditation. So I want to introduce that today because it's something that can never be done enough. And it's something that is the core and the heart of the Dharma. So it's beautiful the way it's emphasized in our particular tradition. So the 6 causes and 1 effect meditation. When we talk about meditation on compassion, it all has to start with equanimity. That's where it has to begin. Let me use my phone here. It all starts with developing equanimity. On the basis of that, we can do many things. So if you want to be a loving person, if you want to really make a difference in the world, you can't be biased. So I like the people in my family. I don't like my neighbors. I like the people in my political. I don't like the others. So obviously I'm stuck there. But also, as you go and go, this one comes up, and so to develop compassion doesn't mean that you wash away the negativity of the others. It doesn't mean that I'll ever agree with Donald Trump. Never. It does not mean that. It doesn't make you blind. It means that compassion is something that Dalai Lama has for Mao Zedong, who occupied his country and killed his people. Doesn't agree with anything he's done. But compassion is not about that. It's not about agreeing with sentient beings or others' political views or actions. So that's helpful to know. It's not like saying throw yourself at the feet of violence, at the feet of negativity and say that's what I should do. No. Definitely we could say Donald Trump's policies are wrong and that divide people. But himself as a human being, I have compassion for him and I want him to be enlightened and be free. And that's hard to get to that place for me, but I try. So throughout history, we'll all have these issues, where we'll know that something is wrong, but we don't want to close off completely, so we're dividing these things here. So this is what equanimity means. Equanimity means that your enemies, your friends, your strangers are all equalized as human beings on two bases. First, that they all want to be happy and be free of suffering. Even our worst enemy wants that. And the second one, they all possess the Buddha nature. Anyone that is sentient, anyone that has a mind possesses the Buddha nature, however much we may not think they do have the Buddha nature. So this is how Dalai Lama teaches everywhere he goes. Look at the world in this thing, essentialize everything down. Don't look at the divisions in religion and people and race and politics. Look at the basic human thing, which is that we all want to be happy and we all have the potential to be happy. So that's the start of any meditation on love or compassion, because without that, your meditation is biased. You're building a patriotic devotion, or it's more like politics we're practicing instead of spirituality. So one of the reasons, there were many reasons there were death threats on the Buddha. One is empowering women at his time to be ordained nuns. So and during the Buddha's time, he said, women should be nuns, And so it's like becoming a priest, still not possible today in some religions in 2016. So 2,600 years ago, he gave women this thing. The daughters of the Buddha, Sakyadhita, they became ordained. So death threats to him for there, the husbands. Where's my slave? You took my slave away. Like old sexist patriarchal culture, like, what? Buddha is taking away our slaves. So death threats there. The other one was politics, that Buddha would not get in line with the militaristic political agendas of his area, of his family. And so they were upset with him for that, because he should represent his family and fight for his family and protect the region and be a leader of war, So he wouldn't do that, so then people hated him too. So you can't win with Buddhism. But that's the first part, is equanimity. We start there. And then we move on to this teaching about seeing all beings as our mothers. So we're going to see all beings as our mothers. We're going to remember their kindness. We're going to wish to repay their kindness. We're going to practice love. We're going to practice great compassion. We're going to practice this supreme thought, and then bodhicitta. So we're going to meditate on all these today. I'll say a little bit more about them before we start. These meditations are extremely profound because they delineate the karmic relationship between yourself and achieving bodhicitta as a realization in your life. It's a cause and effect. When I'm thirsty, I drink water, and then I'm not thirsty. When I practice these meditations, I go from thinking of myself to the mind of bodhicitta gradually until it's permanent. So that's profound, cause and effect. Putting it in your favor. Everything in Buddha's teaching has to do with cause and effect. So before you have the ignorance, that creates suffering. Now you're putting this meditation on bodhicitta as the cause, and the effect is the realization of that mind, which hooks the blessings to you. So first thing is equanimity. The second thing is recognizing that any life that we've had as a being, we had to have had a mother. And so that mother has... it's just the way it is. We always have to come. We didn't create ourselves physically. So remembering that goes endlessly backwards for Buddhism, primordially, or you could say, what's the word they use? That meditation on beginningless is the word they use. that there's no beginning to samsara. So, that way Einstein and Buddha they're each other's theories. But anyway, it means that since there isn't a creator that's posited in Buddhism, that means that there can't be something that came without a cause. So if the creator is the first cause, then that can't exist in Buddhism. There's no way, because everything depends on other things infinitely. There can't be one moment where things began. If there was a Big Bang, there had to be many Big Bangs before that, according to the Buddha's style. So why this matters over here is that we're saying we've been reborn many, many lifetimes from beginning this time, and through all of those times, we've had a mother. And so it's like recognizing that if we're all just keep reincarnating in different places and different shapes and forms and countries and different life forms, then somewhere along the line all these beings have been our mother. Like every being that you see when you go out in Miami has been your mother. Every being that you see on the subway in New York City that you try not to make eye contact with when you're sitting in the train has been your mother at some point. That kind of concept. So it's like just Buddha emphasizing that all beings have been your mother somewhere along this time, because there's no such thing as the birth of your mind like today. This is your first life. In Buddhism, that's rejected. We accept in South Florida that the ocean is just east of where we are now. In India, they accept reincarnation to that same level. Like it's not even a conversation. If you say there's no reincarnation, people will laugh at you in India. So he's coming from that perspective and that background. And so that's the first part, recognizing that all beings have been one mother. The next one is remembering the kindness of the mothers and what they've done for you. So we'll meditate on that, which is all the things that a mother does, like during meditation session, taking a child out and in, so others can meditate because the child is fussing. So everything a mother does with nursing, staying up all night, protecting the child, doing all sorts of things, remembering the kindness of the mother, that the mother will sacrifice anything for the child to be happy and healthy. So the mother is, supreme in that way. So Dalai Lama always jokes when he talks about father sentient beings, because there's no way you could put that in Buddhism, and they joke a lot, and he's just sort of making a generalization. But he's just saying, if you said that, it's funny, like for him in Tibet, it's very funny. His dad is very gruff and kind of pushy and not around a lot. And so he said it'd be hard for people to develop compassion with a father like his. Like he would find that very awkward. Like especially a lot of us, people have those experiences thinking of like alcoholic father or a violent father or something like that, and you're going to pray to develop those qualities. It's not going to work. But it's not. I don't want to generalize, because many people, of course, have been raised by their father, and they're very kind, profound, gentle fathers, like Oscar, who lives here at this home. And like that. So, but the general idea is basically men can't nurse, they can't make milk. So they're not the ones up all night usually doing the nursing and sacrificing the time and energy. So you contemplate on the mother as the one there, remembering the kindness of the mothers, that she missed out on so many activities in her life that she could have done. Maybe missed out on her career, maybe missed out on a lot of things, health, So that kind of sacrifice is on a completely different level, So that's what we talk about there, with recognizing all beings as the mother. And the next one is remembering the kindness. So that's the first parts, Equanimity, recognizing all beings as our mother, remembering the kindness, and then wishing to repay. You want to do something. It's not enough to recognize that my mother did all these things for me in this life. It's like I want to do something for my mother to give back. And that applies to every single being that I see. They want to cherish them and look at every single person like, oh, they were my mother in past life. And so now it's my turn to give something back to them. So even if you don't believe in reincarnation, it doesn't really matter, because if you think in these lines just for this meditation, it really changes your outlook when you look at people. Instead of seeing them as your enemy or as an obstacle to your happiness, you're like, oh, this is somebody I owe a debt of kindness to. Is that's your first thought towards someone, we're doing really good, we're cooking with gas. That's the idea. So you can do that, you can do that, and then the next time you get on the subway in New York City, it's different. Your attitude different. So it's something like that, these are beings. When you're looking at beings with compassion, you want to do something to make their life better. It's not so much about avoiding them or whatever. If you see them as your mother, the closest thing to most people. And Dalai Lama says if there was a father who was more close to you or an aunt or whatever, then use that person. Definitely use whatever brings out the softness, the tenderness in your heart. Whoever that person is who you should be bringing into this meditation when you're trying to equalize all beings. Is that one. Whoever makes your heart warm. So remembering the kindness, wishing to repay the kindness. I have to do something to repay the kindness of this person who sacrificed their whole life for me. And in addition to that, I have to do that for all beings. Because this is expanding beyond one person. So that's the equanimity. And the first part of the 3 causes, recognizing beings as their mother, remembering their kindness and wishing to repay their kindness. And then you move on to generating the mind through loving kindness. So what does it mean to want other beings to be happy? Is what it means. Love in Buddhism is its definition. I want other beings to be happy. May you have happiness, and the causes of happiness, and that's how we define love in Buddhism. So here, okay, I want to do something to repay the kindness of all my mother sentient beings. I want them to be happy. So you meditate on giving them what they need. Meditate on visualizing the food they need, the friendship they need, the love they need, the support they need, whatever they need, the job they need, you meditate on giving that to them in your practice, so you're training. So in real life you can get more active in doing compassionate actions. So that's first one, developing loving kindness. Then from there, great compassion, that you really want this huge compassion and responsibility, that you want to take the suffering of other beings. And you understand how suffering operates from the truth of suffering, right? There's a suffering of change and pervasive compounded suffering, meaning you've studied your own internal dilemma with how you get caught, in life. So your compassion is great because it's based on wisdom. This is now great compassion because it's based on actual insight to how human beings suffer, not on a wish, not on a temporary emotion. It's based on scientific experience into your own daily life's pain over your lifetime and seeing what the trouble is, how exactly we get caught. So it has a little more power behind it. Because often we want to do something good, whether in devotion or compassion practice, but it stays at the level of a wish. I had a lot of that in my life with my teachers, where I wish I did more to practice devotion, but it just stayed in the level of a wish. But when it comes to my own life and my own needs, it's not in the level of wish. It's this hand and this hand going out to make sure I get what I need done. And so those are the 2 hardest things, devotion and compassion. Realizing emptiness is much easier than those things because they don't involve physically manifesting outward toward other living human beings in the same way. Emptiness is a scientific realization of the nature of reality. That's in your mind. That's an experiential thing. That's great. Devotion you have to express to the teachers. Compassion you have to express for suffering beings and do something. So it's more difficult to realize compassion and devotion than it is to realize. And when I say realize, I mean permanently, stably realize, like Lama Zopa Rinpoche has done, for example. So loving kindness, and then the next part of that is great compassion, and then after that is what we'll call the Laktong, supreme thought. There's this supreme thought, they call it, which means that I myself alone. And you hear Lama Zopa Rinpoche say this all the time when you study with him. It's so funny. I myself alone. He gets so passionate, I've never seen anyone ever in any situation more passionate than Lama Zopa Rinpoche. The way he describes bodhicitta and the path, it's it's crazy. It's crazy. It makes footballers look like they have no passion for football. It makes musicians look like Mick Jagger has no passion. 0 compared to Lama Zopa. That you look like that, it looks like that when you see that. It's radiating this energy. And what's so beautiful is that this energy is about others. It's about loving others, and so that's what he's passionate about. And so the universe empowers him to a completely different degree than somebody who's doing it for themselves, whatever their thing is. Footballer with a big ego or a musician with a big ego is nothing. Their passion is nothing, even if they're pretending to be very sexual and intense and all this bars and meaningless, short-lived, spark-like samsara passion compared to this absolute cosmic passion of the Buddhas. And when you're in the presence of Lama Zopa and your hair is standing up on end, you feel that, like, what is going on? Did I take heroin right now? Did I take acid? What is happening? You know, it's just this small Tibetan man is just talking about compassion, and I can't maintain, you know, I can't. So something like that, like we should never convince tiny worldly passion with the orgasmic super bliss of the Buddhas. We should never put them in the same category, because they're not. The Lama Zopa, 24 hours a day, radiating this intensity, the color red. So good, so good. And so here, I myself alone will liberate all sentient beings. I myself alone, you know. That's what he's saying. Not waiting for friends, not waiting for teachers, not waiting for others. By myself alone, I'm going to work with these hands to go out and make the world a better place because of these mothers who have raised me. That kind of thing. So that kind of passion is way powerful, removes obstacles and accumulates oceans of merit. And then the effects of that, all these meditations we just discussed, the effect is bodhicitta. So that means the mind of enlightenment. What is the mind of enlightenment? I will become Buddha. That's the definition of bodhicitta. Primary mind, I will become Buddha. The secondary mind, for the benefit of others. So up until then, it's all been for the benefit of others, and then bodhicitta comes as the decision to become a Buddha. I've made a decision to become a Buddha, like deciding to become a parent, or deciding to get married. It's like a major decision in one's life. I have decided to become a Buddha. And that means that I will train in the stages and the paths of Lam Rim and the 2 stages of Tantra to become a Buddha in this life, so that I can fulfill this vision of serving others to the highest capacity, like the great masters. So it's a decision. You've come to a point. It's not casual, it's not here and there, it's very much like that. Boom! And then that's why people sacrifice. That's why people meditate so deeply, because they've been trained in how this world needs compassion so desperately. So that's kind of the main heart of Tibetan Buddhism, that attitude. Building compassion until the decision to become enlightened. Every day meditating on that and tricking the ego, getting away from all the samsaric thought. Okay, so now we'll do this meditation, which I just described these levels together here, and I'll just guide a meditation so you can try to experience, you know, some taste of this in your practice here. Many of you may have done this long ago or many times before, but it's still good to keep watering the seeds. Okay. So we'll take our posture again. So let's start with our meditation on equanimity. Please call to mind the fact that all beings, humans, insects, fish, birds, all wish to be happy and be free of suffering. Conclude. Looking at beings with a compassionate eye, we will recite the mantra of Chenrezi, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme much for the first half practice today.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you.